Hello everyone, welcome back to the Watchalong. FP3 is underway, 54 minutes on the clock, and currently the only car to set a lap time is Max Verstappen, who sets a 118.397 on the soft tyre. That is a big change from what we saw yesterday. Verstappen not setting really any laps, didn't actually set a lap time in FP2 yesterday, the hour-and-a-half session because of the Pirelli tyre test. Yeah, they got absolutely no running in the end on that one, which is such a shame. But they are back out on track again. Obviously, not everybody's come out and set lap times, so it's all a little bit difficult to really say who is where. But Verstappen is finally out on track, Heisler.
Yep, he is without problems this time. He had a lot of problems yesterday in both practice sessions, so it's good to see him on track without problems this time. And I'm really curious to see what his pace is like compared to the other teams, because we kind of had an idea from yesterday, but it still was so hard to tell because of the test with the tires and also the weird first practice session.
Yeah, for sure. It was all a bit of a mix, and all of a bit of a mix-up for Williams. They had a big old shunt into the barrier in FP1. So unfortunately, they didn't get any running in the FP2 session at all. They did for Colapinto. Colapinto went off a few times around the circuit, but they're just trying to explore the limits of the track. They've never driven here before. And also, of course, we've got the high altitude and low oxygen that they've got to try and get used to. They were saying in a podcast with Alex Albon that they're happy that it's not a kind of technically demanding circuit. I guess I should say physically on a driver. It's not such a demanding circuit that you really struggle with, because you would be absolutely in trouble. Like Kota, for example, with all the elevation changes throughout the lap. But it's still not that easy of a circuit to go through. You've got high speed, you've got low speed, you've got medium speed corners, so I don't know, it should be a little bit of a challenge for all of these drivers. We've had Gasly set a lap time recently, a 119.9 on the medium tire this time, but we've got a few people who have done out laps and then gone straight back in. It looks like Russell will be the next one to set a lap time, as they are going to be setting their first time on the soft tyre. I say that, it's their out lap, so they are going to do that just about now.
Yeah, Hamilton is on a lap though. But about Max again, I said he had no problems, but you just reported that there was quite some oversteer, I believe, on exits of low speed. So it's still not really without problems, but it's not weird if he didn't really run yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about those issues he had, he it will not get a penalty for any changes he made in the engine. It was in the end an air leak in the turbo and in the exhaust. So they changed that. They just picked one of both in that already is in the pool, so it's already used at some other race. So no penalty for him, but it could be that it's gonna affect somewhere during the end of the season.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that a good idea? Because wouldn't you want to be affected by the issues as early as possible so you know what you're dealing with later on? Because it might be that they go to the next Grand Prix and they're going to have problems. George Russell is having a little bit of a nightmare with that car, although he does go purple in the middle sector. But yeah, a little bit later on, Verstappen could have issues which could mix things up for sure. That is Russell taking the top spot, but only by a small amount. With Verstappen, I don't know if you read anything about any brake issues or something. I think they were complaining about that yesterday. They ended up taking the floor off the car. I don't know if that was anything linked or if there's been nothing mentioned.
No, to be honest, I don't really see much about that issue. So I don't know if that's fixed or not. It was mainly the newspapers were mainly focused on the problem with the engine, not with the braking. But I feel like since he had so little running, they maybe have fixed that brake part, but then the issue of the low speed oversteer is there. I guess it's something like they changed something and then got a new problem, which they have to change now again. Could be possible.
Yeah, it's understandable for sure. We've got a bit of a comparison with Russell and Hamilton. Hamilton is quick in some areas, but Russell does seem to be doing a nice job, although it's FP3 and it's the first few minutes, so we're not really going to see anything representative until we get to that last few minutes. Hi Schla, I want to ask you, as I always ask anyone that I'm in the commentary box with, who do you think is going to get the top 3 out of qualifying and the race, and then obviously we'll update our decisions once we go to the end of FP3.
Yeah, I already gave my prediction yesterday with I believe both Mercedes in the top 3 of the quali and then Leclerc. And in the race it was Norris, Leclerc and Piastri in that order from P1 to P3. But since I see that gap now between Russell and Hamilton, even though Hamilton had less running than Russell, I'm not sure anymore. Hamilton has the new floor as well, so it's not really looking good for him. I would now maybe change it to Russell, Max, and Leclerc in the top 3 of quali. Then I think I will keep I think I will then make the order of the race. Still Norris win, since I just expect the McLaren to be somehow really quick in the race. They are just the drivers themselves are really good at keeping the car or the tires in check. So I would say Norris, then I guess Max and then Leclerc. It's hard to say.
It is very, very hard to say. I'm still going to go for a Leclerc. I'm going to go for a Leclerc pole and a Leclerc win. That's what I'm going to just say. I'm sorry. It's surely going to be happening with the Ferrari performance. Don't wish anything against any of the other teams, but it would just be great to see 3 teams going into a bit of a battle late on into the championship for sure. But yeah, I think Verstappen could definitely do a good job. Russell and Hamilton, you mentioned their running time. They've almost in theory got like virtually the same amount of time, because obviously Russell was able to do the whole of FP1, whereas Hamilton did none of that. But then Russell did go and end his session a little bit too early in the FP2 session. So they are more or less kind of very similar, not really that far off. So on Mercedes terms, they should be somewhat equal. But in the meantime, we've just seen Lance Stroll and Alonso go fairly high up with a purple last sector there for Lance Stroll. It's just showing how the early stages of each session are just so difficult to really judge. I cannot wait for qualifying though. It should be a good one. Overtaking into turn 1. Haishla, do you think we're going to see a lot of that, or is it going to be difficult? I know they've changed the DRS zone a little bit.
Did they change it again this season?
Did
they shorten it even more?
Yeah, I think 75 meters. I think it was.
Oh, okay. I still expect if slipstream and DRS is so insanely powerful, I still expect that overtaking maybe even will take place before the turn even arrives. Like that straight is so long. But I do hope that there will be dives into turn 1. We saw it a few years that it happened. But yeah, I'm a bit worried that it still will happen on the straight itself instead of the corner.
If we get overtakes into corners instead, do you think we'll get a replica of the Austin and Austin overtake with Norris and Verstappen, maybe with other drivers as well? We did see it with other drivers throughout Austin, but most notably Verstappen and Norris. And also, what is your opinion on the racing rules in that regard? Do you think it was fair what Verstappen did according to what the rulebook says?
According to the rulebook, Verstappen did indeed nothing wrong. It's annoying for me to say personally because I still don't like it, but the rulebook says he did nothing wrong. Like I believe, who was it? Alex Brundle explained it. Yeah, Verstappen got a warning for going off track, whilst Norris got a 5-second penalty for overtaking off track. Like, I get the difference between that. But it's a bit annoying that you can just dive to the apex and be ahead at the apex, which is the rule, and then just run the other driver out wide, whilst he actually, in more fair racing, would be entitled to some space on the exit.
Yeah. It does make it quite difficult because it almost ruins a battle. Obviously, Norris in that scenario, or the overtaking car on the outside in that moment, had to effectively yield or crash with the car on the inside. So it did make it look like it was a masterful defence from one side. But if Norris decided he was going to try and keep it on the circuit, whether he would have or not, we don't know because it didn't happen. If he did try, then we would have probably ended up with a bit of a different situation, which is something that definitely makes it quite frustrating to watch when you're trying to get a good race on screen. They're really cutting these curbs here at Mexico, though. The first few corners are absolutely mental. It's like we're watching an F1 game over those first few curves. It's very impressive. They get into the later stage of the lap. It's not so aggressive. It's a big slide there for Lando Norris in the kind of first technical section of the circuit, really, before you get to the S's. And he's off. Yeah, okay. So he's not off. Sorry, he's backed off, and that will be sorted. Russell's got an issue.
Yeah, I didn't miss it. Like I missed it a little bit. It was something with his mirror.
Yeah, he's got a loose mirror on his car, so he's gonna have to get that sorted out. I mean, where are they? They're in the pit lane, right? They're already in the pit lane, so they'll be able to get that fixed. I can't see them on the mini map, so that's why I didn't know if they were out on track or not. So that's a bit of an old message that we will have heard, of course, quite delayed, but they'll be getting that fixed, and then they'll be able to go out. I don't assume it's too big of a deal to repair that kind of thing. They are part of the body of the car, so you would have to probably deal with the carbon fiber work. Maybe there would be a bolt or something to secure it, but it would probably be a heat gun job where you have to heat up the carbon fiber and then mold it to the car. We're probably not going to be able to get to see what they do regardless on that car, but it's we hope to see Russell back out as soon as possible. Currently, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc topped the times. Once again, Carlos Sainz being very quick. He topped the time in FP2 yesterday. and he did it quite early on in the session. No other cars managed to beat them later on. They weren't too far away, it was under 2/10, but still put a pretty good lap in fairly early on. It was with different tyres, so it was a lot quicker than we would have really expected. But yeah, the Ferraris are looking quick, and Carlos Sainz is enjoying this quite a lot. Do you think if we would see Carlos Sainz leading a Grand Prix and Charles Leclerc was very close behind in P2, would they ask Carlos to take that P2 spot and allow Charles to go through for the championship? Or do you think it will stay as it is? Or do you think that Carlos will refuse if they were to be asked?
I think they won't switch around. I think Ferrari is really focusing on the constructors. And I would do the same, to be honest, if I were them. Charles is indeed still theoretically in the championship fight. Sainz still is, I believe, as well. Not sure about Piastri, but they are still in the fights, theoretically. But I don't see Sainz or Charles actually fighting for it. So I would say to don't take any risks. Just keep your position, whoever is in P1 at turn 1. But I want to point out something interesting. I've watched a little bit the stream of yesterday back of FP1, and I saw that the McLaren was actually quite a bit slower in Sector 1 compared to the Ferrari. And now I watched Norris' lap, and he was already nearly a tenth up on Sainz in Sector 1. So I believe yesterday they were not on full engine mode, or maybe on really high fuel.
Yeah, that would explain it. I think, was it with your Tom? We're saying it's probably they're on a quite a different fuel load. That is a car off as we get a bit of a glitch out. That's Yuki Tsunoda, who's gone off in, is that the stadium section? It's not.
Yep.
Yes, it is. It is. Final few corners. So, unfortunately, they've had to spin that car around and try and find their way through. Do they go into the pit lane after that whoopsie, or do they continue? It's Liam Lawson into the pit lane. It's not Liam Lawson into the pit lane. It is Yuki Tsunoda. No, it is Lawson. What? No, okay.
No,
on my graphic, Lawson is going all over the place. Anyway, Alex Albon, P13. What were we talking about? Yes, just a second ago. Yes, so the McLaren's on heavier runs, and it would make sense. It's what we kind of expected. So they didn't really show their true pace, and I think this is where FP3 will come in nicely. Hopefully, we can get a bit of a preview into qualifying as we get to the final few moments of the race. It wasn't a spin for Tsunoda. It was just oh no, that's Lawson.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So.
No, it's Tsunoda.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah,
so it was
lighted up
Lawson
his
who
rear.
did have that spin.
No, it was Tsunoda that spun, but he lighted up those rears on the first corner of the stadium section, and I think that's why he spun in that right-hander of the stadium section. His rears were, I think, just too hot, and they couldn't handle the speed he took.
Yeah, and any little mistake that you make around this circuit, the temperatures just skyrocket. So if you do have a bit of wheel slip, then you're just going to damage any grip that you will have had. That's very easily done, and I probably would expect to see something similar happen at least once in this race. So yeah, hopefully we don't find out, but we probably will at some point tomorrow. Currently, looking at all the cars, we've got scrub tyres for the top 3, fresh tyres for Hamilton, who is out on track at the moment, so they're going to be looking to go pretty quick right now. And then we have got scrub for Hülkenberg, fresh for Perez, Piastri, scrub for Verstappen, and then Stroll's also on a fresh set. Only medium tyre runner in the top 10 right now is Hülkenberg. Everyone else in the top 10 is on the soft, and from P12 to P20, that's all a medium tyre.
Yeah, I just want to point out the track evolution of this session. I heard the other commentators that already mentioning it. It was a touch when we started out this practice session. And you can really tell Hülkenberg now in P6 on the medium. that track usually is quite big this session. So I think the times towards the end will drop even more, maybe even below the quality. Is it already below the quality time of last year?
It's close. I'll double check.
Okay. Yeah. I think it will definitely be below the quality time in the end. But we passed yesterday as well that Hulkenberg was doing quite well on this track with just 1 lap pace. So I'm curious to see if he can keep it up for quali itself. I don't think he will. Like, he has still Paris and Piastri and Verstappen behind him. So it's tough to copy what he's doing now, but he's doing a good job so far.
So just to confirm, 17.166 was Leclerc's lap time, I think, from last year. So we're not far away. I think we're going to skyrocket past the lap times, to be honest, because looking at what we saw yesterday, everyone was going very, very quick. At the same time, FP2, it was a bit different because the tyres were a little bit softer, but the mediums weren't that far away when we got to the later stages of the track evolution. Look.
I saw Norris doing a lap, but then it went away. Did he back off, or was it just not quick enough?
I'm not entirely sure. Maybe part of their run. Obviously, we saw everybody going. Well, was it one of the McLarens? I don't know quite who it was. It might have been Piastri made a mistake on one of their slower runs and blocking. I think was it an Aston Martin, but didn't make a difference.
I just saw why Norris backed off. He had a moment going into the S's.
I see. Okay, would make sense. Don't bother going any faster if you don't need to. Yeah, so it was a 17.166 for Charles Leclerc. Looking at the times that you currently got, so it's a 17.616. So if they were to set that lap time, they would have started P7 ahead of Oscar Piastri last year. So that's where we are already. We're definitely going to be going over that threshold, probably in this session, but definitely in qualifying. I don't know where we would get to. We're probably not going to be going to record pace, because that was Max Verstappen, a 1:14.758 in 2019. They got their lap time deleted in that race. I'm not sure if that was their lap time that they set, and then he ended up P4, of course. Or was it just a grid penalty, but the lap time was set, it wasn't deleted? I have a feeling that was the case, but they would have been on pole anyway. So that's why I'm not entirely sure what their lap time was in Mexico. But it was bloody quick, I should say. So, yeah, a 14.758. We're not going to be getting anywhere near that, I'd assume. But we're going to get fairly quick. Would we get to the 15s? I don't think so.
Oh, that's tough. That would be tough to get 15.9. But I would say somewhere in the 16s. But I'm a bit confused about the Ferraris. They were both setting yellow, for me at least on the graphic it said yellow sector times. Whilst they still improved. I don't know if that's a mistake in the graphic. What did you see on your graphic?
Yeah, it's also yellow, but they've obviously set very quick lap times, so maybe that's just something from the feed side, and it hopefully will get sorted out for later on. It's just a technical issue that I guess everyone's experienced there. But it doesn't change their overall lap time in the end. But a 17.4 that they've now done, and we're going to be very, very sure. That's an interesting one. Car going off the circuit, and it doesn't look like the McLaren's happy.
No, I wouldn't be happy with that either. He was just completely in the way. Sainz was just either not getting good information from his engineer, or he was just sleeping. That was really ugly. It would have been the same with Albon and Behrman if Piastri wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Manages to keep out of the barrier this time. Not happy with each other at all. Especially over the radio. He says typical Carlos. So, yeah. Oh well, Carlos is in the pit lane now and doesn't need to worry about that anymore. It is practice, so you're not going to get any impeding penalty. You just got to make sure you learn for qualifying. Yep, they were just sat on that line, which is really not ideal if you're trying to go quickly. It is a shame because we won't be able to see Piastri go for an improvement lap. He did just set a green sector of 27.683, which is not actually faster than Perez's first sector, but it is faster than Russell's first sector that they've just recently set. I don't know what the fastest first sector was, so I can't tell you relative to the fastest time, but they were improving at least on their current time. We won't be able to see that now, but they are not improving again. So they're probably aborting this lap. Yes, they definitely have aborted this lap and allowing a load of cars to go through. Hopefully they don't go and do exactly what Carlos did to Albon here in a second, although Albon's going slow. And Hamilton will go through. We're going to get Hulkenberg across the line. Perez will cross the line as well to set an improvement. They got P4, and that is half a second away from Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, it's annoying that both the McLarens have something on their lap, on their push lap. So we are still not really sure what the pace is compared to the other drivers. It's yeah, we still can't tell. It's like yesterday where we also just don't actually know what the pecking order is. We know now that Ferrari is quick, but the rest is still, for me, a complete question mark.
Yeah, and we of course saw Verstappen not running, we saw Russell not running, we saw Hamilton not running throughout, we saw Leclerc not running throughout this entire weekend so far. Now we get to see them all run, as long as I haven't jinxed it and within the next 10 seconds we get a red flag. But this is the first time where we properly see all the drivers getting a decent chance of setting lap times relative to one another, and it is close-ish to the qualifying session, so this is where it is all kind of dialed in. I don't actually know what time is local time, but I assume is it early morning? I want to double check that for everyone right now. Track time, it is, yes, 11:30, so it's currently now 12 o'clock in Mexico. So it's midday. It's going to be a decent track temperature. We've currently got 33 track temperature with 18 degrees air temperature, which is actually a lot lower than we saw yesterday, but the temperature will be increasing towards when we get to qualifying for that peak grip, the kind of tyres melt to the track.
I actually heard that as well, that if the track is too hot, it's not good either.
No,
so
it's not too. If it's too hot, it's not good, and that's what is difficult about Mexico. Of course, they said if the sun shines, then it gets too hot. If there's a bit of cloud, then it gets pretty normal. But it does seem to be that it's not really a massive problem temperature-wise, at least from the data. You do want it to be nice and hot so the tyres are malleable, but the hotter the track gets, the harder the compound you need, and then you would be in big trouble, of course. But hopefully that's all good and we don't get any problems. That would maybe bring in strategy for tomorrow. I don't know what the weather would be, but I assume it's going to be dry. If it was going to be wet, we would have probably known about it by now. But it could possibly make the strategy pretty crazy. And I think one of the pundits said that the strategy is, or the race is going to be won and lost on pit stops, not actually overtaking on track, especially because of the shorter DRS zones.
Yeah, but I do have a question for you. How old are the tires from Piastri, where he set his fastest time on?
They are 7 lap old soft tires right now.
Oh.
So.
Okay, that is interesting, since he is 4/10 of Sainz now with that lap.
And they were scrub as well. Norris 9 lap old softs on scrub tires.
Yeah, that is interesting. So they are still sandbagging. Lovely.
Well, yeah, you could say that, but obviously you need to set the lap time eventually, so they've got to try and put it together at some point. Whether they will do so, you never really know. I think, yeah, after the short break we've had, McLaren have been caught off guard by the Ferraris. Maybe it was kind of a bit of a surprise. We knew that they would be quick, but I don't think we expected the Ferraris to be as quick as they actually were. In the end, I still would say the better race car overall does seem to be the McLaren. It's just whether they can stay out of trouble at the start and not lose time from battling, because that's, I think, where it all went wrong in the United States Grand Prix last weekend. If they weren't fighting, then they would have probably had a much better chance. But we'll see. They get a completely different circuit, very, very different, with a long straight, and they'll have plenty of opportunities to get past this time around, as Lando Norris is waiting to go out.
Yeah, I have a theory about why they had a little blip in Austin and now they are looking quite decent. They got their upgrades, like 7, I believe, 7 upgrades at Austin, and they only had 1 practice session. Now they have had 3 practice sessions, and it's looking like they are kind of getting to know their upgrades and looking like they know what they should set up, how they should set up the car to make the upgrades work. So it's interesting to see how good they now will become with those upgrades.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whoopsie. Ferrari mechanics just had a little bit of a moment as they decided they were going to kiss the floor. But they're all good to go. I don't think anybody's majorly hurt, just a little bit of pride, I guess, there. That's pretty embarrassing to have on the camera and displayed to the world feeds. They are not going to live that down for the next, for the rest of the year, probably. Oh well, it happens to the best of us, of course.
No,
yeah.
no, just hope no one of his friends saw it.
Yeah, hopefully. Alright, so 24 minutes on the clock, and Carlos Sainz leads the way. Almost everyone in the pit lane, I say that. I look further down the timing sheets, and we have got a fair few cars out. We've just got Leclerc, of course, heading out, as we did just see one of his mechanics just doing a backward somersault. But now, 2 racing balls are out, but they're on scrub mediums. Lawson scrub mediums, but did just improve very, very slightly. I'm just looking to see if we've got any cars that may be looking to try and go quickly. We do have the Sauber. Nope, they're not even out on track. I didn't quite see that bit of the graphic there. Anyway, never mind. We're not going to get any improvements for now. But current timing wise, we've got, of course, the Ferrari front row lockout. We've got P3, P4 for Piastri and Norris. We've got Perez quite a lot higher than Verstappen at the moment. I do wonder what that situation is. And Verstappen's done a lot more laps on his tyres. 16 laps compared to Perez. 7.
I was gonna ask, how many laps did Verstappen actually do? I feel like he's been in the pits for a while now. So I was just a bit wondering, and does the Ferraris have new tires or old tires?
They are scrub tyres, 9 lap old for Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, 11 lap old tyres. So they are the ones that they, I assume, just been running. They are the ones that they've just been running. Lap-wise, Russell and Verstappen currently have the most with 16 laps each. So although Verstappen has been sat in the garage for a while, they have been the one to set the most laps so far in this session. The fewest laps does come from Sergio Perez with 7. So Red Bull in a bit of a situation still in this session, but they've at least got both cars kind of setting laps compared to what we've seen in the first 2 practice sessions, of course, with Verstappen. Now we will get to see Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz go for some more running. I have a feeling that this is possibly going to be more of a race distance run.
Yeah,
simulation.
Maybe they made some last few setup changes, or they will just run a few consecutive laps to see their race pace. But they do have their DRS open, so I don't actually think it's a race run. I think it's like more setup run or something. I wouldn't say race run. Usually they keep the DRS shut if it's a race run.
Right, yep, that would make full sense. So, currently going as quick as they can do. We'll look at the sector times right now, and we don't have improvements, but they are fairly close. Leclerc's a little bit slower than Carlos. He is on 2-lap older tyres compared to his Spanish teammate. It is a personal best for the middle sector for Charles Leclerc, however, 29.940, and Carlos Sainz will also cross the line, but not improving, and is about 600ths away from his teammate right there. So Leclerc, they do improve. They're going to take that provisionally. Will Carlos Sainz be able to match that? I don't think so. I think they're going to be P2, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I think there's. Oh, he got it. He got it in the end. I do find it interesting. I think they are all still hiding quite a lot of their cards. If we see Tsunoda and P3 on the medium, and they are obviously still on old tires. So I think the actual quali runs we will see them at like 10 minutes towards the end. But yeah, from this order right now, I don't think you can say much.
Do you think with the current situation that we've got with the lap times that have been set, maybe Ferrari are going to try and focus on quali, and if they think that they can get into the lead, then it might give them the better chance, like they saw in Austin, of course. Once they're in the lead, no one could really catch them because they were kind of busy fighting each other effectively. Would that be a possibility? I guess it would make sense if they're pushing this hard this early on. We'll see, obviously, all the others do, I assume, a similar thing, as you said, Hoshler, a little bit later on. We've got Colapinto out on track, looking to try and see if they can maybe improve. I want to double check on their tyre. They are on fresh soft tyres. Alex Albon currently in the pit lane. They're P15. Colapinto, he's going to, I want to say, set a quick lap time, 4/10 behind. Would currently put him P3, but he's got more of the lap to go.
Yeah, you mentioned that Ferrari will focus on the quality, but I wouldn't find that logical. We have seen it a lot over the past years that pole and even P2 from the grid is really useless. I think last season Verstappen came from like P4, maybe P3, and took the lead into turn 1. So it's if I was driving here, I wouldn't be wanting to be on the front row. I would be like either P4 or P3. It's just you get that insane draft towards turn 1. It's such a long run, so it's just not ideal to start from pole, to be honest.
So would you rather P3 on the outside line or P4 on the inside? I assume P4 is on the inside.
Yeah, the lines would be better on like the P3 since the track is not dirty there, but the slipstream would probably be stronger in P4 since you will most likely have like a train of 2 cars ahead of you, where P1 and P2 would like go over to the right before turn 1.
Yeah, and then you'd have the inside line possibly if you're able to make that work. So the top 4 are going to be very, very spicy heading into the first corner tomorrow. So I am excited to see how that one goes. Nervous as well. We've had Colapinto go over the line. They did set a P5 in the end, 5/10 behind, so they lost about a tenth in the second and third sector compared to their first sector, where they were 4/10 down. So Williams not looking so quick in the first sector, unfortunately. But we'll see how that goes. Alex Albon is now out of the pit lane and ready to try and see if they can match or beat their teammate, which I think is quite important. There's a lot of criticism to the Thai driver, although I really don't think it's that right to judge with the situation that they've been in, but it's still not great. You still want to be ahead of your teammate regardless.
Jesus, they are taking a lot of those curbs on the first few corners.
Yeah.
It's really like the game. But I want to talk about the middle sector as well. I've just watched at how the cars handle those fast corners, and it's so insane to see how they lean on that tires. Like you see just the whole car moving to the left when they are turning right. I would wish you could see that much of the car in the game as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit bumpy in the S's there, which cars have got to be cautious about. Verstappen's going very, very quick though right now, or could possibly go 4/10 quicker than current leader Carlos Sainz. So, yep, I think everybody's picking it up. 15 minutes to go on the clock. Of course, 18 minutes is what you'd get in a Q1 session, so maybe Red Bull have started their qualifying simulation. That is, of course, on a fresh set of tyres. So Max is really putting that benchmark down. A 17.0, can we get into the, 15s? 15s? 16s? Yes, we definitely can get into the 16-second lap times. Just how far in can we get? I'm going to say 0.7s.
Nah, I think even lower than that.
Really?
I am thinking about 0.4s.
0.4s. Okay. I was going to say 0.5, but then I thought I was maybe a little bit too ambitious, so I'm going to have to stick to my 0.7s now and hope that I was right. But yeah, okay, I kind of would agree with you, really. I think we are probably going to go quicker, but I just didn't want to be too ambitious. We'll see how it goes, and of course, who will top this time. Or session, sorry. We don't know, and it's never really going to be so straightforward to decide who will do that. We've just got Valtteri Bottas up to P5. Lando Norris is looking to try and take this top time away from Max Verstappen, and it looks like it should be fairly straightforward.
Yeah, it is. Hey, what did you say about the 67? It got beaten immediately the moment you said it. Yeah, that's funny. I think I'm wrong with my 0.4 now as well. I think it's gonna be even quicker in the quali, and I think we're wrong on saying that we won't see a 15 now. I didn't expect them to improve this much on their runs, but I don't think Max will be happy with that gap towards his championship rival. I think he will be quite worried if he's at the end of this session.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a worrying one. 14.758 is what Verstappen got in 2019. That is the record for qualifying. Piastri has just gone and asserted dominance over Lando Norris right there. So pushing quite nicely. Hamilton has jumped their way up to P4 as everyone is starting to pick it up nicely. Would we get to the 14.7 range and maybe beat the record? I don't think we would. Would we get close though? Do you think we could get to the low 15s, or is it going to be the high 15s?
Ooh, yeah, I was completely wrong with my previous predictions. So I'm now maybe gonna say 15.4 is max, and that I would be still surprised if it's actually 15.4. But I'm a bit thinking about the predictions I've made this weekend now, and can we change them perhaps?
Yeah.
Because
well,
Mercedes is not looking good.
We'll change them when we get to the last 3-4 minutes of the session, and then that will be locked in for qualifying. Won't be able to change that, and for the race can be a bit different. But yeah, qualifying it will be locked in by the last 3 minutes of the session. So yeah, the predictions could be very outrageous there. We'll see. But Mercedes not looking as good as maybe we were as expecting, but Hamilton has ridden over those curves pretty hard, so maybe there is a reason for that.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see that. Like, we've seen it a lot before, that Mercedes were looking really good at the Friday and then just dropped off at Saturday. And I still don't know how that happens. The only thing we know is that Mercedes is just really difficult to drive on any surface, because this is a quite smooth surface compared to other tracks. So yeah, we saw it with track crash yesterday of Russell. He just can't take as much curbs as other drivers can do in maybe even worse machinery. So it's, yeah, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised about how far they are off now.
I think they're they're also a little bit surprised as well. I mean, maybe they're sandbagging. I think they're hoping, or a Mercedes fan is hoping that they're sandbagging, but yeah, that's a big gap and not any confidence in the team either. So we're not even into quali yet. We've got 11 minutes left on the clock. We've got a few cars in the pit lane after setting some initial runs. I assume they're probably going to all come back out on a set of scrub tyres, although the McLarens have stayed out on track.
They are doing double cooldown lap. Like I saw Norris crossing the line really slowly after a cooldown lap he did. So they are doing a double cooldown. I think they are testing that if this could work for the actual quali, but it would definitely not work in Q3. You don't have the time for that, so you still have to be able to do it on one lap.
Yeah, so they're going to be running a little bit more fuel than we would have probably expected. Norris has actually allowed Tsunoda to go through. I don't know if that would have caused them any issues, but they're going to get a distant tow, and Norris is possibly, I say that, of course, Tsunoda just goes and completely takes that away. They do go to P5 though, 8 tenths behind, but Norris, let's see what they can do now they've done that cooldown lap. Purple first sector though for Carlos Sainz, who is almost a tenth up on Piastri's current time. So they are trading. Of course, Tsunoda being up there in P5 does show that the cars have still probably got a fair way to go in the current lap times.
McLaren is nearly 3 tenths off now after the second sector. The McLaren was strong yesterday as well in the second sector. So Sainz now as well. I think McLaren are looking like they found their efficiency and downforce back again, which they kind of lost a little bit at Dakota. Like I said earlier this session, it looks like they are beginning to understand the package they have from their new upgrades.
As Carlos Sainz does go P3, as those upgrades are getting better. Carlos Sainz wasn't able to find that top time as it was looking like they could have done so. Norris doesn't beat their teammate. Piastri, looking at the times, they're not going to be improving, but Carlos Sainz still purple in that first sector. So that could be quite important. That's going to be the fast sector, the one where you're going to be making those most overtakes. That Ferrari, although it should be not the slipperiest in a straight line because they've got a lot of cooling on that car, it does seem to be pretty handy. Russell improves, but is still sitting in P8 where they were originally, 8 tenths behind Oscar Piastri's lap time. Almost a tenth, I say that, no, it's 400ths away from Tsunoda.
Yeah, and McLaren can now definitely say that the double cooldown lap and then go again does not work. So I think they maybe will pit now and come back out again. But it's insane to see how things just change so quickly. We thought yesterday that Mercedes was gonna be quite good around this track. Then Ferrari showed up back again, and now it's looking like McLaren will be insanely dominant around this weekend.
Yeah, it's all a bit of a mix as everyone just kind of does their own simulations throughout the weekend, but now they pick everything up. We've got a lot of cars heading to turn 1, all probably getting a bit of a tow from one another. We've got Albon, who will just overtake Esteban Ocon, as they would have got a decent amount of slipstream. Will they be going faster in that first sector? They're on 4-lap-old scrub tyres. They've already been out on track. They've then gone back in and they've come out once again. Piastri and Norris, you were saying that they're going to go back in and then come out again to set some fast laps. I assume they would still be on their current tyres because I don't see a reason why you'd use a set if you don't really need to. But that being said, Verstappen... Oh, not Verstappen. Maybe Norris has got an extra set because he didn't run in the first session, or is that not how it works? Does that rookie driver still use that kind of set of tyres that car is given effectively? I don't quite know. But Albon coming into the final sector, and they aren't improving.
Yeah, the tires I think are assigned to the car instead of the driver. So
Hmm.
any drivers that got used by award in the first session um, are like scrubbed for Norris. So I now I'm thinking about it. I don't see it as logical that McLaren would opt to use another set of softs. Um, yeah, they showed now they're kind of a little bit their hand. So why would you uh, show it again by going on a new set of softs?
Hmm.
I would say now you know what you have and see what the others will do.
Yeah, for sure. It would make complete sense. In the meantime, Alex has gone. What I say has gone. They were still P10. They didn't improve, but they are ahead of their teammate. More importantly, and by a little bit of a margin as well. About 2/10 ahead of Colapinto. So they're going to be, I assume, quite happy. Colapinto currently in the pit lane. They might come out again, but they also might not decide to. Everybody whipping out these. Fresh-ish tyres. Currently, oldest tyre is Piastri with 7-lap-old tyres, whereas Norris has got 6-lap-old tyres, and that is the disadvantage of doing that double cooldown lap. But they got the laps in nice and early. That's the benefit. So you get that data, you get that knowledge of the qualifying situation. Whereas if you wait for too long, then you might not get the opportunity to do a qualifying simulation, because some people might decide to push a little bit too hard at the very end, and then it would just be red flagged and completely finished. Because if there's not enough time on the clock, then there is no point of restarting the session. But also because the timers aren't paused in practice compared to something like qualifying, then it would mean that you probably won't be able to get out of the session anyway. So yeah, we'll see. We've got a lot of cars on their way out. We've got, I say on their way out, they're currently out on track. We've got Bottas, who is on their way out, currently sitting P11, which is good for the Sauber, but other cars I assume will be trying to push them down.
Yeah, I'm just listening to the board radio now, and Max is still complaining about the grip of his car. He started the session with that, and he ends the session with that, so it's not really looking good. And they sometimes do change the setup just before quali, but in my opinion, I found it really tricky or quite a risk to do that. Like now you know what you actually have, but yeah, he's still in a championship fight. But I want to point out that yesterday I was talking about the V carbs and the Williamson, Williams, I don't know. Um, yeah, those teams were the other way around in Kota, and now they are yeah, now Lawson and Colapinto are behind that teammate. But I gotta say, compared to yesterday, they are a lot closer. I believe they're both like not 2/10 of their teammate. So it's interesting to see now they both the rookies know the track. If they maybe even can beat them in the quali, I think both driver lineups I think are quite strong. So I'm interested to see in the end who's gonna get top.
Yeah, well, I mean, Alex Albon and Sonoda, they do have a fair few years in Formula One already, and at a circuit like this, which is like no other, with the oxygen, with the altitude, experience is going to be key, and I think that's what we're going to see, not only right now, but throughout the rest of the weekend into qualifying and the race. That is going to be Sergio Perez making a bit of a mistake as they were trying to go quickly. They then rejoin, and they're going to completely block the Williams. I don't know what the thought process was in that one, but oh well, it is what it is. Verstappen goes fastest, or I say fastest, faster in the first sector, doesn't quite get the job done in that middle sector. They come through the final few corners. What is going to be the Dutchman's lap time? Are they going to be able to go further up the order? It's not going to be possible. They're just going to be P4 in the end and stay where they are, 5/10 behind current Piastri, who is taking that top spot. McLaren won't be running again. Neither will be Hamilton, Bottas, or Zhou. All the other cars are currently out on track. Albon's gone out on a medium tyre. So is Colapinto. So I don't quite understand what the plan is right there for those guys with the tyres, but I'm sure there is a perfectly fine reason, as Magnussen's just gone P9. Yeah.
Practice start, perhaps?
Probably it would make sense. I think, yeah, that's what we saw a few cars doing yesterday as they were able to do so. There was a little bit more of a reason to that. There's no potential at the front of braking. So Perez also struggling with braking, not only Verstappen, so that Red Bull is being pushed to the limits on the front end, it looks like, and they just can't quite get it right. It's not going to be too easy, and I think, as you said earlier, Heish, it's just going to be so dangerous, and I think the McLarens are going to be absolutely mental. Their ability to just manage the race is going to be brutal, and I don't know who's going to get it out between the two of them, as Piastri has got a race distance around this circuit since last year, of course, but I don't think it's really going to make much of a difference. Yuki Tsunoda just waiting to go out one more time on the mediums and do a practice start.
Yeah, compared to Ferrari, like you asked me, that if would they switch around if Leclerc was behind Sainz? For Ferrari, I said they probably wouldn't. It would be a risk for them for the constructors championship. But for McLaren, they are quite far, quite far-ish in the lead now of the constructors. And Norris is fighting for the championship. So if Piastri will be ahead in the race and Norris P2, they will definitely, after for some reason mistakes in some opinions mistakes they made this season. So yeah, they will definitely switch around in the race, I think.
Yeah, it would completely make sense. I know Norris has said that he doesn't necessarily want that to happen, but I've got to be honest, it's just got to happen. You can't be picking and choosing if you don't want to go past just because for the sake of pride. You've just got to take it. We do come to the end of FP3. We will see a few cars crossing the line. We won't see an improvement from Leclerc as they finish their session. As a few cars are doing outlaps to try and get practice starts in, Norris crosses the line to finish the session. They won't do anything lap time wise. They will just go again once more to get the practice starts in, which will be quite valuable. And I just want to look at the times one more time. We're probably not going to be getting any improvements. Maybe nope, that's going to be it. Interestingly, Alonso has gone into the pit lane. We did actually get an improvement from, is that Lance Stroll? No, it's not Lance Stroll. Who's at last place? That's one of the Alpines, is it? It's Pierre Gasly. So they did just yeah, well, they just did set an improvement lap time, but it's not really going to make much of a difference in the end. So I will read out the results as everyone's crossed the line now at set from Alonso, who's in the pit lane. We've got Piastri topping the times of Norris in P2, Carlos Sainz in P3, Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Russell, Magnussen and Lawson finishing the top 10. Then we do have Albon, Bottas, then the Williams teammate of Colapinto in P13, Perez down in P14, Alonso, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Ocon, Zhou and Pierre Gasly further behind. That's the session done, but Heichler, we will now need to do the final predictions for qualifying at least, and then one last prediction before we maybe do another prediction at the end of qualifying for the race. What do you think is going to happen? I'm going to go first this time, just so it's not like I'm just copying you. I'm going to say, and be brave, really brave here, I'm going to say pole is going to be Piastri, Norris, and then Carlos Sainz. That, you know, that's so brave. Looking at the results right now, no one would ever expect that.
You just took this result and thought, oh, let's copy it.
No, not at all. No, not at all. Yeah, go on then. What's your predictions?
Well, I nearly wanted to say the same, so now it's looking like I'm gonna copy you. But I'm gonna throw my previous predictions completely out of the window. I've never made those predictions, so it never happened. I think. Where did you place Leclerc, by the way? He's just gone. But I think Norris. Norris will take pole. Sainz will somehow take P2, and Piastri will take P3.
Fair enough. That's a bit more of a mix. Now, thank you very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure. One more thing, Heichler. I'm not going to ask you for the top three, Who's going to win the race tomorrow?
Norris.
There you go. Thank you very much, everyone. We will be back later for qualifying. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much to Heisler for joining us today. Have a good one. Bye-bye.